CD Projekt is a uniquely Polish company, so it seems fitting that their first game would be based on a uniquely Polish piece of literature. The Witcher 1 and Witcher 2 are no spring chickens, but many of the people who worked on Wild Hunt were here at the studio when those first two games were being created. Many more were simply fans of the games and books before they came to work at CD Projekt. So, since we're here, we decided to ask those folks to cast aside their collective amnesia and let us know their fondest memories of working on and playing The Witcher 1 and The Witcher 2.
I was reading the books and I'm a huge Sapkowski's fan, but then the game appeared on the market and I was really waiting for it. And I start playing with hope that finally it will be like a really good Polish game, right. And that I will feel the same atmosphere like I had in the books. And it was like that. I remember that I fall in love with the game from the beginning, like hours and hours with that game, and I finished it once and then another one, another one, and it was like a perfect like an adventure, and it was really amazing. Like it started with everything, like it starts everything.
What was it you liked? What was it, the sort of the same rich Slavic lore that was in the books, or was it the questing, or the? Everyone says atmosphere.
Atmosphere, exactly. I don't know how to explain that, because what is atmosphere? Like music, colors of the game, maybe some plot. But to be honest, if you want to point it out, you don't know exactly what is it. Right. But it is. Like The Witcher 1 was in my opinion, the most Sapkowski game like we did in the STP.
Right. Very broadly speaking, what was it about the first game that you enjoyed?
Mostly the atmosphere before anything. I remember starting it, oh God, I don't even know if I can say it, like 3 times before I finally went, all right, let's play this through. I needed a bit of time to warm up to it. Yeah, just the atmosphere. I remember being completely captivated by it. You get back to it, you know, you stop playing, and I still found myself thinking about it, having the music play in my head, and just generally the vibe of the place, so dreary in some parts, but like the nice kind. I felt very, very authentic.
Did you watch the TV show?
Yes.
Przyprowadź syna, zanim krew się poleje.
The music was nice. Right. The music was nice, and some places shown in the show, like some pictures of the forest, some cities. It was nice, but in terms of scenario, wasn't good as music. So let's finish with that.
Okay. You know, I love the books, so I was very excited to see them, you know, being made into a game. I love games as well, so it was like a perfect combination for me. I was super happy that the main protagonist was Geralt, because when I heard about the game being in development, I was worried they would go for some other character, you know, right. Not Geralt, because obviously the book ended in a very ambivalent way. Right. There were some solutions they used in the first one that I wasn't very, you know, sure about. Like, right. I wasn't sure why Yennefer wasn't in it, for example. Yeah. But when I played it first, yeah, I really liked it. I was very surprised with the high level of quality of the game. Obviously, it had its issues. Like, I had this issue on my PC that every 1 hour it would crash.
Oh my gosh!
And you know, the loading screens were pretty long, so yeah. I had to reload every 1 hour. That was before any patches they did for Witcher 1.
Like 60 minutes?
Yeah, because I played it right after release, you know, and there were bugs in it. And yeah, every 60 minutes, like on the clock, it would crash. And wow. I already knew, so I saved before. And yeah, every time I would just reload and play again, because I loved the game, so I was like, this is not gonna stop me from finishing it.
Speaking to the employees of CD Projekt Red, it's easy to forget that all of this could so easily not have happened. The studio has been located in the same industrial park in eastern Warsaw since before the development of The Witcher. But even before they were tasked with creating a game that people would enjoy, they had to negotiate with publishers.
We were telling them from the very beginning, hey, we'll not give up the IP, we finance the project ourselves, we'll finance it for 3 years, we can still continue. They didn't know that we are burning through the last remains of our money.
Right.
And you know, the distribution cannot provide enough already for a group of 50, 60 people per month. That was a super stressful time for me in my life because I was putting a lot of effort. I was constantly traveling, they were flying here, we were preparing for all this. You know, sometimes they had due diligence that was lasting for 3 days. At a certain point, I was getting a call, and it was the call I was really waiting for, and before it was like, hey, we need more time, blah, 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 blah. So time is passing, we are burning through the money, and then they call us, hey, Marcin, la, 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 la. And then, you know, I'm really sorry, however, and you know, you get it once, twice, but you get it 7 times from all the top names, you think like, are we doing something wrong? Is there a much larger risk than we originally thought? But the fact was that, a little bit like with banks, when you have money, they're queuing outside. But when you need money, they never want to help you with any.
In the end, it was Atari who came through with the deal, a company used to publishing role-playing games, and a company used to squeezing as much as they could from those they worked with.
It took me a good 2 months probably, I think 2 months to sign a heads of agreement, so a 4-pager. Because they proposed, I mean, we agreed on the terms and they sent something else. That's the Atari School of Negotiation, which I learned the hard way. 6 months, I spent 6 months. We had a weekly call, or sometimes even more often. We spent, I don't know, the legal bill was kind of small, for example. It was, I don't know, $60,000, $70,000? And we are tiny,
yeah.
You know, it's the first deal. And even at the very end, they wanted to extract some stuff out of that. I still have the letter where we called their bluff and we sold to their send it to the management board, where we told them that if this is the way, like in a very nice, polite way, if it's the way they want to handle it, we'll just walk away and wish them all the best of luck with their future endeavors. That's lovely, yeah? If that's what you want, fuck off and die in hell. And we wish you the best of luck with your future endeavors.
After months of negotiations, CD Projekt got an acceptable deal, and work continued on the game. And while the Western markets may not have been sweating in anticipation, in Poland, fans of Sapkowski's work couldn't wait to get their hands on it. A Polish-made video game about a Polish work of fiction playable in Polish.
I played it in Polish, obviously, so I was also surprised with the quality of the Polish dialogue, because at this time we didn't have that many games, you know, in localized Polish with very high quality of voice acting.
I was hired as a designer, and from the start I was working on narrative, but the company was pretty small, so pretty much every designer was working on, you know, everything.
Right.
So, like, for example, I was naming the potions, or I was writing those little dialogues for community, like the reactions. Oh, it's raining. Oh, it's raining again. Oh, it's raining. Oh, I think it's raining.
In terms of its geographical scope, The Witcher 1 started at Kaer Morhen, basically played out in Vizima and its environs for the rest of the game. So we were really talking about, you know, one city and its suburbs and a somewhat distant, you know, village across the lake for the 4th act. We did make sort of fundamental distinctions already at that point, that the elves, who in Sapkowski's world are an oppressed minority, to give them the Queen's English, to give them RP accents. We thought it was a nice foil, you know, to have these, you know, trounced upon, but still very proud people, you know. The dwarves, just by virtue of fantasy tropes, got Scottish accents. Right. Everybody else, it was either a marketing decision, or it was an ad hoc decision made in the studio.
Right.
We have numbers for each quest, like, you know, Q101, Q102. We didn't use names because all the names are always written at the end. Right. So we were using just the numbers. So do you know what's happening if I do something in Q103 and in Q134 I will do the other thing? Yes, in Q501 you will have this thing.
For whatever weird reason, one of the bigger moments that stuck with me, other than of course the story, is that one quest where the woman had the the monster in her basement, the old lady, I don't know, and the drunken section with where you try to steal the pickles and the and the lard. That was really cool. Yeah.
You're joking.
That mummy must have some lard, maybe pickles too.
Shawnee?
Just don't get caught, Geralt. I'll pay for them tomorrow.
I remember all, it's like a whole plot of Vizima outskirts. It was really nice. Like when I was thinking about what I would like to see in that part of the Northern Kingdom, it was it. So like the whole plot with the beast, and with that fucking priest and those killers. It was really nice, and it fits to the Sapkowski's books, and it was perfect.
The game's based on a series of best-selling novels by Polish fantasy writer Andrzej Sapkowski. And unlike any other fantasy setting that you've witnessed so far, there's no good and evil in this one. No fine line, you know? Especially for our main hero, Geralt, who was brought up and trained to be a witcher. A professional monster slayer without any human emotions.
The Witcher sold well on their home turf and in wider Europe, but breaking the American market was difficult. Marcin felt like it wasn't getting the marketing spend required to get noticed in North America. Soon after launch, he attended a meeting with Atari in New York. During lunch, he visited a few game stores in Manhattan and spotted single copies of the game stuffed onto the bottom shelf, in the W section. But regardless of the marketing, the game was finding an audience almost entirely through word of mouth.
In the US, we shipped it, I think, in October. In the first quarter, we were all disappointed, I think. And then the game started getting awards.
Right.
And the second quarter of sales was better than the first one.
Wow.
This doesn't happen normally. It just shows that they didn't push it enough at the beginning. So it's sort of like the organic pickup and word of mouth kind of made it sell. But still, I think in the US, it was considered more like a hardcore, like Dark Souls kind of. Have you played The Witcher? Yeah, it's hardcore shit, man. I'm tough, yeah.
The team attempted to bring the game to consoles in the form of Rise of the White Wolf. They partnered with French developers Widescreen Games, who were coming off Eidos Interactive's cancelled Highlander game. Sadly, for both parties, it wouldn't be the last cancelled game they worked on.
They had a lot of good people, but they signed the game because they just lost a title with the publishers. The publisher canned the title. And of course, you don't know it when you sign it, so they were totally desperate to sign it, not to fire the people. And obviously in France, it's really hard to let people go. When they picked it up, I think they really didn't realize what they're getting into. And Witcher 1 wasn't easy to port. I mean, if it would be easy, we would make the version ourselves, because it was all on the Aurora engine. So they couldn't use the tech in any way. We tried to convert it ourselves, but the conclusion was, if there is someone with a tech that can, on their tech, recreate the whole game, let's do it. And I think it was a bad idea from the very beginning. It was like writing Witcher 1 from scratch.
Right.
So yes, we probably were the only people who could be able to do it, but we wouldn't be able to develop Witcher 2 at that time.
Work was starting on The Witcher 2. At this point, the distribution company was still the cash flow generator for CD Projekt, but they also had a porting and localization company that was breaking even on its own, a small investment company for their cash reserves, a tiny version of GOG, and of course CD Projekt Red, which was costing them a lot of money. Of course, there's no good time for a continent-wide financial crisis to hit, but for CDP, the timing of this one couldn't have been worse.
Yeah, we were over 300, 350, and I think at the end we are less than 200. We had to sack Rise of the White Wolf. We are on the hook for a couple $1 million to Atari. Distribution is folding. We talked to all the VCs around, and I mean banks, yeah. It was a quick no.
Yeah.
But the VCs, they were always like, looking. I still remember one discussion I had, and they offered us a couple $1 million investments, like cash injection to the company, saying like, hey guys, we probably will not make it, but yeah, we think if it's an opportunity, we can give it a go. So we'll leave you 5% of the company. And then with Michał and with the guys, we're like, even if we have to announce bankruptcy, we'll announce it, we'll never take a deal like that. But right now I'm saying it like lightly, I'm smiling, I'm relaxed, but the hardest time of my life. I'm a quite balanced person. If it's stress, I can cope with it well. I wasn't sleeping for days. Like we were talking before that the brain plays tricks and can glorify certain moments. This moment in my life cannot be glorified. It was the worst stress I ever had, like work related.
To survive, CDP would have to downsize and, more crucially, focus. They gave away the Czech and Hungarian distribution companies. They held on to the Polish distribution and a small version of GOG, and then started a protracted series of conversations about investments. They eventually found a partner and sold off a percentage of the company while ensuring they still had a controlling stake. More importantly, they got access to the stock market, which essentially made all their financial issues disappear overnight. They had access to credit. They could ride the wave of the crisis and keep working on The Witcher 2.
You know, walking into this deal, we had this idea that unless you control over 60%, you don't control the company. No, you can control a company with 20%. Right. It all depends on the structure. Not that I want to say that it's an ideal scenario, because I would prefer to have 100%, but it totally changed our perspective, and suddenly we went into this like a more serious finance environment. Of course, I mean, we are a public company, so many things can happen, but we have full control over what we are doing, and we are quite adamant about it.
If The Witcher was reminiscent of Sapkowski's short stories that concerned themselves with the lives of common folk, then its sequel was more like the novels, a saga concerning itself with regional politics and conflict. In fact, you could argue that The Witcher 2 is two games in one, as the central storyline essentially breaks into two different games after the opening chapter. The scope of Witcher 2 was totally different, but the challenges echoed those of the first game. Before they did anything else, first the team needed an engine.
The first Witcher was powered by Aurora engine, and it was really cool that BioWare helped us with the first game, but we modified the Aurora engine significantly. Sometimes we say that 80% of the code was completely rewritten. Eventually, we decided to develop our own engine with a clear goal that after the release of the PC version, we're going to have a console game. And it was because of the Rise of the White Wolf. We failed with the Rise of the White Wolf, but we won with The Witcher 2.
The Witcher 1 sounds like it was maybe your favorite game ever. So isn't like testing a game a really good way to make it not your favorite game? Like, you ruined The Witcher 2 for yourself.
Exactly. I think that The Witcher 2 is not as bad as I think.
What things did you like and what things didn't you like?
Music. it was nice, and yeah, some small quests. Like I really remember, like I remember the quest about haunted hospital next to the Flotsam. It was really nice, and the horror atmosphere of it.
For example, I worked on this succubus quest that was used as a demo, I believe. We always wanted to make these quests, these side quests, to make you feel like a monster hunter, like a true Witcher, right? Also, we were mostly focused on the main storyline, and actually, people pointed it out that we could have used with more side quests in the game, which we all agreed with. So this was like one of the occasions of where I could actually do this thing, because it was like a classic monster hunt. There was a monster, nobody knew what was happening, people were dying, you had to go on investigation, use your Witcher knowledge to learn what killed them, and then you also had this moral ambiguity, which is a common theme in The Witcher.
I think that when you work on something, and this something is The Witcher, and if you work on it like for years, you have to, think differently about each new installment, because it's impossible to to repeat all the time the same thing, even if it was successful, because you are a human being. You have to you have to change it. You have to come with something new. You don't want to just repeat and do all the time the same thing. So I think that's the main reason why those games very. And when we started The Witcher 3, it was after finishing The Witcher 2, and we were tired, and we were thinking about The Witcher 1, and we thought, oh, maybe we should repeat some of those things that we used in The Witcher 1, and it was many years ago, so it was, you know, like, it's like never existed. We forgot about it. We had to, you know, to replay it again, and, you know, to watch YouTube to remember those things, to recall them.
We're very lucky, and we're at the right time at the right place. I was recently giving a talk to high school students. I sort of compressed the story of CD Projekt into 9 lessons, and one of them was about luck. And so I started Googling what is luck. You can think about hundreds of synonyms of luck. It can be karma, it can be gift from God, it can be being at the right place at the right time, and whatnot, you know. There's a lot of them. But this one really was when the preparation meets opportunity. So that's, I think, exactly our case. We are prepared to go through all the obstacles and all the difficulties if we wouldn't really deeply personally care about what we're doing. Because then you would just, like, I don't know, change the job, sell it, whatever, yeah. It will be a calculation. It was never a calculation for us.